Karma is this weird word that's always considered so mystical. But karma just literally means action. That's all it means. Action and a reaction. It just means action, karma. So there's good karmic action, bad karmic action. There's other words too that just have some simple meaning, but we make it into some magic, mystical thing. It just means action. So briefly, maybe we went through some of these, but I don't remember.
What, you don't remember?
All the parts I might have gone through. I might have alluded to these.
Oh yeah, we finished karma. We were talking about if you have no intention, you can also create karmas, even if.
Well, that's within karma, okay.
Yes.
But it'd be worthwhile to go through these again. Karma action. There's two types. One is intentions, and intended actions, body and speech. I've written here. a karmic. There has to be an intention for karma. Even good karma, bad karma, neutral karma, for everything, every action we do, there's some kind of tension. Maybe it's not a gross intention, but that's the way it works. And then I was writing, this is from Ancient Before. We are creating who we are by what we do, by what we think. When you realize by the karma that you're making, positive, and I did raise the point, guaranteed, we talked about rebirth, guaranteed you can get a human rebirth by being non-harmful. Ahimsa, not harming beings. You will get a human rebirth, 100%. But many human rebirths are not so nice. Just being human isn't enough. So that morality gives you the human rebirth, and generosity gives you all the things that come with a human rebirth. If we're generous with our money, with our time, etc., that gives us a human rebirth with these other conditions coming. So it's pretty basic, actually. You can just do this, and you get a rebirth with all of the goodies. Well, I got this phone in here. I guess I just be heavy in my. Excuse me.
And then maybe just
What?
no, because we were talking about this in the Four Noble Truths, and I think maybe we could just define klesha, because we define karma. So
Okay, karma. The cause of suffering is karma, which is the action, and kleshas. There's many translations for kleshas. Disturbing emotions, disturbing attitudes. There's a lot of words that are used for kleshas. What's some other common ones?
Mental affliction.
Yeah, mental afflictions, or even a real common word. It's because every translator likes their own. Intentions and intended action. In terms of the effects of karma, there's three types: virtuous, non-virtue, in desire realm, non-fluctuating. In the desire realm, there's virtue and non-virtue. Non-fluctuating karma in the form and formless realms. You understand the form and formless realms? There's there's seven basically realms, isn't there? There's the God realms. There's the asuras. They're not the gods, but they're almost in the human realm. These are positive karmas. And then in the negative, you have animal and And the lowest one, of course, is hell. I don't like to use the word hell because everybody's afraid of it. It just means where there's a lot of suffering. You know? But it's a kind of a joke because we've all been in hell. Sometime in our life, we've been in some situation. Don't tell us that hell doesn't exist. Everything's going wrong. It just wasn't a realm. And
Hungry ghost.
and non-fluctuating would be like form and formless. Actions you do in the form realm and formless realm. Oh yeah, hungry ghost, animal, hungry ghost, and hell. Those are the 6 realms of existence that you can revolve around and get born into. And I was telling before, just by being virtuous, ahimsa, just non-harming, just the virtue of not harming beings is a guarantee to a human rebirth. But human rebirths aren't always so perfect. Maybe I just said this to you. So, generosity, non-harmfulness, virtue, and generosity. Generosity creates the cause to be, if you're born human, to have everything you need, you know, the right friends, the right, enough wealth, enough to practice, freedom, stuff like that. So just, it's that easy. You get a rebirth done. Bye-bye. Hello.
It also counts like to be vegetarian.
Huh?
Like if you are not vegetarian, you are not practicing ahimsa.
No, that's not considered true, actually, according to Buddhism. And there's a lot of squawks from the vegetarians and the vegans. If there's no intention to kill that animal, but they say no. But if you buy a steak in the supermarket, you're still, of course, you're still part of the whole thing. But so is everybody else in a way. It's like we were talking about before. There's nothing in Buddhism that says you have a vow against killing, intentionally killing an animal or a human being. But eating meat, you're not intentionally killing that animal. And all the people come with arguments, but if you bought it and you're connected, of course you're connected. But it's not the same. Like I can take for myself, I eat meat, but I would never kill an animal. Never in any way. I wouldn't do it. Even if there was nothing left to eat. Because there's no intention. And so even the Buddha ate meat. He ate whatever was put in his begging bowl, yeah? So I think he died from some kind of poisoned pork or something like that, you know? Because as a monk, you're supposed to be not attached. Whatever they put in your begging bowl, you should eat it. And there's rules that you should take it back and eat it before 12 o'clock in the monastery. And Tibetans aren't too great about keeping all those vows so well. But when I was a monk at Nalanda, it was all vegetarian food. If you wanted to have meat in the nighttime, you could cook on your own. You could buy it at the supermarket. But it wasn't something provided by the monastery. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he provided Sarah Monastery, maybe 8 million monks or something, 8,000, anyway, lots of monks, not million. He gave vegetarian food to keep them fed for life on vegetarian food. And he collected a lot of that money with Singapore disciples and things like that. So there's some funny stories around that. You know, some people, they're more fanatics. Well, I don't take this, I don't take that. So this one guy, he becomes when you're a monk, anything that's put in the begging bowl, you should eat, you know? Not, oh, I don't want this, I want that. So this guy was one of these kind of over-the-top vegetarians and unnecessarily fanatical. He would go begging as a monk, and so in Thailand, all the best for the monks, they got meat, Coca-Cola, sweets, because the best for the monks, you know? And you had to eat it. You had to eat it. You can't say, I don't like that, you know? So he was suffering a lot trying to be a vegetarian in a monastery where you put what's in the bowl, strictly speaking. If they serve food at the monastery, or often donations from people, they'd be vegetarian. But begging, you eat whatever's there. There's even the story that where the leper's thumb fell into the bowl and this person was supposed to eat it. Well, those are probably a little bit extreme examples. But anyway, yeah. A lot of great beings are not vegetarians, but they don't kill anything. One time I was with the Karmapa. I was in a hotel room. We thought, let's just go see the Karmapa, the former one, big Karmapa, you know. We're here. He's at me and my two friends from Brazil, actually. Let's go see, because they went to Kopan. I had two close Brazilian friends. Let's go see. He's supposed to be at the Oberoi Hotel. Which room is the Karmapa? And so we we knocked on the door. Yeah, come in, no problem. There we were with the Karmapa, and he was eating. And there was a couple of other people there that were saying, criticizing him a little bit for eating meat, you know. And he said, it's better to be a humble meat eater than an arrogant vegetarian. That's what he said to them. You know? It was a perfect answer. And then the Dalai Lama would tease like that. There was this group of so-called Zen monks. Well, I can't remember. Roshi, something Roshi, an American Roshi. And they said that if you eat any meat, you can't be a Buddhist. You're not a Buddhist if you eat meat, which is totally wrong. You know, that was his view. You know, so I was at teachings with the Dalai Lama in Camden City Hall in London, and I was in the second row back with the Sangha, etc., etc. And this group of people, Philip Kapleau Roshi, they were all sitting back there. These ones that know you, if you eat meat, you're not a Buddhist. So the Dalai Lama was teaching the 12 links, and at the center of the 12 links, there's the chicken, the rooster, and the pig, yeah? For the cause of ignorance, attachment, like that, you know, desire. And the Dalai Lama, he teased these people. He goes, that was great. He goes, oh, and I don't think he eats pork. I don't think he eats, maybe he'll have meat sometimes, but not particularly pork. He gets to the pig and he goes, oh, the pig, such a vile creature. And he looks at these people, but the meat is so tasty. And they're all going, ah! The Dalai Lama, he just said that to tease them, you know, because I'm sure the Dalai Lama doesn't particularly eat pork. But no, he's great in that respect. Teachings there in London. So where are we? Oh, other aspects of karma. So there's 4 characteristics of karma: definite, expandable, no cause, no result. If you don't plant the cause, you don't get a result. And karmic imprints don't get lost. Those are 4 characteristics. Karma is definite, it's expandable. Now, expandable is tough. It means you do something and it keeps increasing. If you do something negative, then the karma for that again will go increase. And same with good, though. Same with good karma. You do positive karma, that keeps expanding. Like dropping a pebble in a still water expands outward like that, you know. So those are 4 qualities of karma. Well, we have some other ones here. Karma is definite. Yeah, every action has to get a result. And then there's expandable, imprints increase. No cause, no result. Karmic imprints don't get lost. But they can be purified. Karmas lead in imprints or tendencies on the mind stream. When these tendencies meet with certain conditions, we experience the effect like it's like when the seed meets water, minerals in the sun, it flowers automatically. Karma is heavy by nature, different nature, by intention. What I have written here, this is from 20 years ago, like anger. Karma is something done out of anger, brings up worse results. The deed, the basis, the frequency. Deed, it's worst karma. It's worse karma to kill an animal than it is to offend somebody a little bit or whatever. The basis, the object. Making negative karma with respect to an animal is generally lighter than making negative karma to a human being, especially a virtuous human being. Same thing. If somebody's really negative, a bad person, so to speak, the karma is not so bad for somebody making karma against them. If you made a karma of Heinrich Himmler or something, it's not as heavy as making bad karma against Mother Teresa. You know, you got an idea like that. It's just common sense in a way, you know. So these are some old notes on the different effects. The fully ripening effect. Bad migration as an animal, for example. Experientially similar to the cause. Born human, but because you murder someone, you have a short life. Because being human is a good karma, but you have a short life because of these other actions that you've committed. Effect functionally similar to the cause, the tendency. They say this is almost the worst. More than you have the habit or tendency to kill. That you can take into your next life, you know. You can see with little children, even twins. One of them just likes to go squash the frog and do this, and the other one's like a little saint because it's different from the past life. It's very interesting to see this. And same with virtuous karmas. Action thought creates 1,000 vibrations. Klesha, afflictions. I might have other papers that go more into these. They're called delusions, disturbing attitudes, disturbing emotions, disturbing concepts. All based on the innate view that happiness and pain come from out there. We try to get or avoid things out there, an unworkable situation because we can't control out there. We have to go inside. We have to purify the inside. Like there's a famous expression, you can't cover the world with leather, just wear shoes. Which means protect your mind, and you know, it's crazy to cover the world with leather, but you have the same effect by wearing shoes, by protecting your mind and like that. It's one of these old famous quotes. So that's the worst tendency to kill from past lives. Same with virtuous actions. Virtuous thoughts, non-harming and everything like that, they expand also. But all based that happiness and pain come from out there. Everything comes from our mind. Unworkable situation. One thing I didn't do, I think I was going to give a little talk about what is mind, you know, but maybe it's a time to go back to that. It's pretty brief. The mind. This I got from an old thing from Rabina a long time ago, but most of it we know. Mind and consciousness are used synonymously by Buddhists. Mind, in fact, is at the very heart of Buddhism. It has several characteristics. First, it refers not just to the gross level of our conceptual thinking, say, which is the way the words used out in our culture, but to the entire spectrum of our internal experiences, concepts, emotions, sensory experiences, unconscious, subconscious, spirit, whatever. Second, there is not an atom of mind. This is very Rabina. There's not one atom of mind or consciousness that's physical. This is very true. She's completely right. Nothing physical. The brain is not the mind. See, we have a culture that believes the brain is the mind. And there's a lot of things that might kind of point to that, you know, make it seem like it's the mind, but it's not. Like, Rabina gives these great examples. Like if you had some bad part of your brain, you could cut it out and purify everything, all the bad parts, and be purified by doing something to the brain. It doesn't work like that. It goes on the impression on the mind stream. what is it she says about that? Could we read if they were all in the brain? Could a psychic read brains? That's what Venus says. Could we read the other person's brain? But we can read the other person's mind. For our mind, our gross conceptual, emotional, and sensory levels of mind to function well, that's for sure. We need a brain. The brain is an organ on which the mind functions, but it's not the mind. Just because they have an independent or dependent relationship doesn't mean that they are the same thing. Third, there's not one atom of our mind or consciousness that comes from outside of us, not from some superior being called God or Buddha, nor from parents, which are the two usual options people think about, aren't they? Our body, no problem, comes from an egg and sperm of the mother and the father, but not our thoughts and feelings. There's influence, but they don't come directly. None of this comes from parents. Sure, we can learn about them, but Buddhism says the seed of that propensity has to be within our own mind in the first place. And none of this is created by some superior being. Usually we say, this is all coming from Rabina. Usually we say, if my father beat me, he put anger into me. No. If what he did brought up anger within your mind, the seed of anger has to have been within us in the first place. The beating comes from the father, literally, but the anger does not. That's mine. This is fundamental Buddhist psychology, philosophy, psychology, and practice. Our mind is our own. Yeah, then again, more about, because we're so stuck that the mind is the brain. And this doesn't deny, if the brain isn't functioning right, thinking is not functioning right. If you break the computer, the software probably doesn't function. You can use the example of the brain is the computer and the software is the mind in a way. So having a broken computer, a broken brain, means the software doesn't function so well. Like that. But it's so conditioned in our thing about that. And they have these science conferences with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the greatest scientists in the world. They're called Mind Life Conferences. And basically, science can't let go of that. The brain. It's the problem's the brain, not the mind. They don't have it. They don't understand that there's such a thing existent as mind. Science doesn't have any existence for mind. There's only mind for brain and da-da-da-da-da. But the East, not just Buddhism, it's all about the mind, and the mind is usually what we call heart. It's mostly centered here, like that. That will become more obvious when we get to self-cherishing mind. We feel it less in our brain than we do I. When someone attacks us, I didn't do it. I. It's more than up here. We feel it at the heart chakra. Oh. Karmas leave imprints on the mind stream. When these tendencies meet with certain conditions we experience, the effects like seed meets. If you have a seed and you have water, minerals, and sun, the flower has to come. Things are heavy by nature. Certain actions are by nature more negative. Like killing is by nature more harmful than borrowing something or whatever. By intention, if they're made with an anger, if we do something out of an anger intention, by the deed, the basis would be, like I was saying before, causing harm to an ant is not as hard as harming a saint or a human being. It's not as much negativity involved like that. So more of these two guys. This paper is about 50 years old. We'll just see what we got here. And characteristics is definite, it's expandable, in principle, no cause, no results. So here we get things that indicate that, don't we, I remember when I was in high school, We used to drive up skiing on these slippery roads, you know. And some people we knew, there were 5 of them in a Volkswagen, and the Volkswagen went off the cliff, and one person, not a scratch, no problem, and the other people were killed. Because karmically, that person didn't create the cost to die in a car. It sounds stretched, but why didn't that person die? He was in the same car that got smashed, and he wasn't even sitting in the middle, you know? So these kind of things indicate some kind of proof for some of this stuff like this. It's pretty strong, actually. Things like that happen. Why did that happen? It happened because of karma. Seed basis frequency. We do things more often, of course, it's worse. We don't buy an antidote. Different effect. Experientially similar to the cause. Antidote, very problem. This is what I was discussing with her late before. The strongest purification of a negative karma is regret. Say you do something, you offend somebody or cause them pain. If you immediately regret it, sincere regret, because karma is intention and regret counters that intention. It works very functionally on this fundamental thing, intention and regretting that intention. And it works the same the other way. It works both ways. I'll give an example. If you go down the street, if you do something good and you regret it, let me give you an example. Sometimes somebody will be going down the street in Dharamsala where all the beggars are, and they give him this huge amount of money. And they go, oh, why did I do that? No, you just lost the good karma by regretting giving something away to a beggar, you know, because it just canceled you out. You should just, fine, you know. So in many ways, we have to kind of look at how things are happening like that with karma. So there's different effects. There's the fully ripening effect, which is bad migration, like born bad migration, like born as an animal or a hell realm or something. Experientially similar to the cause born human, but because you murdered people, you have a short life. Effect functionally similar to the cause, the tendency to kill. This is almost the worst. Almost the worst is you have this tendency to kill. You have the habit of doing negativities. That's a habit you don't want. I was telling you before, there was this one famous Lama, and there's a lot of discussions about what goes from life to life. You know, it has to be some aspect of the mind. But strictly speaking, in the Buddhist text, it has to be some subtle consciousness that goes from life to life. And this question, which is the big mystical question, was asked by someone. It was in a bookstore signing of this person's book. He says, what goes from life to life? And the Lama said, your bad habits. Your bad habits. Looking at this person, goes from life to life. Okay, there you good habits also, but he focused on the bad, you know. Habit. It's another thing. Karma is just habit. We have karmic imprints that have us have. We can have a habit of doing virtue. We can have a habit of doing harm. We can have a habit of being indifferent, you know. We build up these processes, and this is why we practice things again and again. I had this wonderful talk by this little kid. It's on my phone somewhere. What you like? What do you have a habit of doing? You know, and if you have a habit of anger, he says, and anything will make you angry anytime, even if you're on an airplane and the person in the seat across from you got a better seat. You get upset, you know. It's a very nice. I should give it to you if I still have it on my phone somewhere. This one by this kid. So we have similar ripening, bad migration, functionally similar to cause tendency to kill. Then we're in klesha afflictions. And I almost have to go to other sources for more elaborate with this. Attachment. We'll start with attachment, but this is a lot more to go than this one. Attachment exaggerates something as being precious, valuable, beauty, or something like that, We exaggerate the desirability of something or someone. We exaggerate it, and attachment arises. And attachment and aversion are just opposites of the same thing. I have more teachings on like anger and stuff like that, which is a more negative, most negative action. Anger, harming people like that. So, but on this sheet, I just put it on the back of the karma, and I have more things working with disturbing emotions, more full teachings if I can pull out something. Attachment. We see things that is more desirable than it is. We then cling more strongly. We tend to carry out other negative actions. See, the thing with attachment, we want something so bad we do other negative actions to get that thing. Difficult to eliminate. Attachment is very difficult to eliminate because even though it disturbs the mind, it's always mixed with something we think of as good. We're attached to a beautiful person and we get together with that beautiful person, we think, oh, it's not all so bad. The attachment is part of the energy of getting with this person, for example. But it forms that pattern, the pattern of attachment. Non-attachment is maybe one of the most fun, besides emptiness, one of the most fundamental things to cultivate. Non-attachment to things being a certain way. Difficult to eliminate because although it disturbs, attachment definitely disturbs the mind. It seems beneficial sometimes, but it's never satisfied. Like salt water, more money, more possessions. We crave more for beautiful sounds, tastes, sights. When we get, we're happy, but when we don't get, we're bummed out. Up and down like a yo-yo we go. We get pleasure, but it's limited stuff or change. We eat too much. We're attached to the food, we eat too much, and then it's like, oh. We build up energy until the heart is shaking. That's Lama's words, I think. He always goes, heart shaking, dear. To get rid of it, like oil and cloth. It's so mixed. The attachment's so mixed. Anger is easy to see. Attachment is sneaky. When we're angry, we don't feel comfortable. If we really look how we feel, well, if we ever get into a rage, probably none of us really get angry like that, but we get, comes out in other ways. Not a comfortable mind, Whereas attachment doesn't seem so uncomfortable, blatantly. But then again, this isn't the different enough to go to working with these emotions. Misconceptions about attachment. Things, people, and relationships don't change, but they do. Bodies, they get old, etc. They bring lasting happiness, and then they don't. They are pure. They have an essence. Attachment is the foundation for dissatisfaction. We always want more and better. Advertising. Advertising is the exploits. We're brainwashed constantly. Advertising, you gotta have this one. From when you're a little kid, you watch television, Mom, I gotta have this one, I gotta have that one. Because it's being shown, it's incredible how it controls the mind. Advertising is a way to control the minds and bend the peoples to want to buy your product or do something. Or in politics, advertising that these people are bad, these people are good. It's gets built up and they're experts at it. There was a person named Bernays. He invented advertising basically in certain ways. Bernays was a psychologist. He came to America in 1925 and he started convincing people through advertising. He was the first one who got women smoking because you're independent if you smoke using these other reasons. All of a sudden, all the women are smoking. they wouldn't have bothered with smoking before. Oh, that smell, when my husband smokes, I can't stand it. But then it was like to be, it's fashionable, etc., etc. So, and then they started using that for politics, advertising certain politicians. Oh yeah, you see it a lot today. Some people making them sound better. People don't even analyze, is this person really doing the best for us or not? So yeah, advertising is and Lama Yeshe. I was telling her before about Lama Yeshe. He goes to the West and he understood how people think. Boom. And whenever the Lamas go to the West, they take them to the department store and they buy watches for all their relatives and everything, these Lamas. And then take them to the supermarket. Lama, first time he goes in a supermarket, he goes, there's all these things, different brands of the same product. He goes, what's the difference? Why is this one better than that one? And he caught it right away. The difference is advertising. Difference is advertising. So, and convinced us to do that, like that. So, Om, so Buddha can even pay spot. I may have already gone through these misconceptions about attachment. Things and people in relationship don't change. They bring lasting happiness. They are pure. No. They have an essence. Attachment is the foundation for dissatisfaction. We always want more. Advertising exploits. And I put Lama TV. I was sitting in America. There was this course in Yucca Valley, California. I came back from being in India for Lama Yeshe. I'd been in for 5 years in India, gone through all these Kopan courses, etc. And fortunately, when we landed in America, the Lamas were giving a course, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa, in a place called Yucca Valley, which is way out in the desert of Southern California. And I was sitting watching television with Lama. And it's a good movie. And he switched back to the ads. He switched to the ads. I said, Lama, don't you want to watch the movie? He said, no. Advertisements, these are the people who understand how you think. The people who understand the mind in America and these places, they understand. They make the advertisements because they know how to hook your mind, how to convince your mind. Brainwashing, subtle brainwashing is what advertisements are. Oh, and the ads, they always have somebody beautiful. I remember some of them, like for Chanel number 5, all the different Chanel number 5 women. There was one, what was her name? You had Catherine Deneuve, all the most beautiful women in France. They became the ones who advertised Chanel number 5. Particularly, there was this one actress who I really liked, and she was, I'll think of the name. She was in a couple of Louis Buñuel movies. Shares a fantasy. Chanel number 5. Oh, yeah. Effective advertising. You've got to have this when you never had any wish to have that in your whole life, and all of a sudden you can't live without it. It's like that, the power. One of the oldest advertisements, America's the big gun culture, right? Guns. One of the oldest advertisements in America, going way back. God created man, Colts made him equal. God created man, but Colt pistols made him equal. And still sometimes in the black community, I got to get me an equalizer. I got to get me a gun, because America, all this ads for guns. America's so berserk with its guns, It's such a big part of the culture, my God. And then when we get into things like love and attachment, we mix up attachment with love. But Buddhism has a strict definition of what is love, what is compassion. The definition of love is wishing another person happiness and the cause of happiness. Not liking a person because they are beautiful, not liking someone, attached to someone because they're nice to us. These are usually the ways, but pure love is just wishing that person's happiness, not because they give us something, not because they're beautiful. We wish that, and we have sincere love for people. Oh, I really wish that person had things going better for them, like that. We wish it strongly. So, and then there moves into some other areas that I can give examples about a great being not attached. His Holiness Dalai Lama. One time in Australia, I mean, he's totally detached, but there's some things that prove it. So they had this big event in Australia where His Holiness was planting a sapling from the Bodhi tree in Bodhgaya in a park. They were making a Buddha park, and the Dalai Lama was there, and he was going to put this into the ground and about to put it into the ground. And somebody jumped out of the crowd. Everybody's having the best time of their life with the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's having a great time. Somebody jumped out of the crowd and took the tree and broke the tree and said, "Religion's dead," to the Dalai Lama. And he goes, "That's another opinion." His mind didn't move, It didn't get all upset. But all the people were, they should kill this guy, get rid of this guy. He's spoiling our happiness, because they were attached to it, and he wasn't attached to his happiness. He was happy, but it comes and goes. So it's such a great example. I mean, what a horrible thing. That's another opinion. Screaming in his face at this beautiful event that religion is dead. Yeah, non-attachment. So when they're good to us, when we feel expected, see that other kind of attachment isn't real. It has a lot of expectation. You should be. I love you. You should be nice to me. Well, that's not real love. I'm trying to think of it. I have this whole set of teachings I used to give called "Working with the Disturbing Emotions," and we can go through starting with attachment. If I can find the one. Definitions. Everything is nice in Buddhism. It's defined. Raga in Sanskrit, attachment. Attachment is defined as a mental factor that perceives an object as attractive, exaggerates its attractiveness, and regards it as a cause of happiness and wants to possess it. What's wrong with attachment? Attachment disturbs our mind. It makes our mind unpeaceful, unclear. It can lead us to do silly or dangerous things. Our moods go up and down when we have what we want, up when we've got what we want, and unhappy when we don't. If someone we are attached to is depressed, we can also become depressed. It leads to dissatisfaction, like drinking salt water. However much we have, we always want more or better. The happiness, pleasure we get does not last. It does not remove our problems. It can give rise to other emotions like anger, jealousy, fear, and worry. It leads to problems in relationships. We become dependent and or possessive. We have unrealistic expectations of others. It leads us to do negative actions, stealing or lying, which are the cause of suffering in future lives, and this life too. It causes us to be reborn again and again. It interferes with our practice of Dharma. It distracts our mind when we try to meditate or pray. We spend lots of times doing non-dharmic activities, for example, shopping, idle chatter, and little time practicing the Dharma. Even when we do practice, our motivation may be impure, tainted by attachment to reputation, because a lot of things we think we're being pure. You meet people in the Dharma, they want other people to like them. I'm a serious practitioner, and they get looked up to. They practice not just to help others, because it's like prestigious to be somebody who's labeled as a practitioner. Tainted by attachment to reputation. We can do good things as attachment to reputation. Achieving bliss or power, etc. It prevents us from attaining realizations on the path, liberation, enlightenment. It's unrealistic. It doesn't see things as they really are. Bam. And then this thing, of course, reflect on the faults of attachment. That may be something we can do a little of now. We can just meditate. We'll do a couple of just basic meditation. You do it how you want. Meditate, reflect on the faults of attachment, and generate the wish to work on that if you've understood those points. And another thing is meditation on impermanence. This is a basic. The next to meditation on emptiness is meditating on impermanence. Everything is subject to change. Nothing lasts forever. Oneself and everyone else will eventually die. We have to leave behind all our possessions. The happiness, pleasure we experience through attachment is short-lived. So, to go into this a little bit more, to go in about meditation, the most fundamental meditations in Buddhism, it's not a Mahayana meditation, it's the basic mindfulness, Satipatthana. People call it doing Vipassana, etc. But Vipassana literally means penetrative insight into emptiness, but it's actually Satipatthana. There's 5 objects. There's different objects. So, the essence of the reality is that there's no soul, there's no independent self, and also that disturbed minds lead to suffering. But there's another thing. I'll just give a simple example. When you first sit down like Red Man feeling already, you sit like you're going to just do some basic mindfulness. You've done these kind of meditations before? You observe the breath, Anapanasati. You just observe the breath and then you wait for something happens. So you first sit down, and what often happens? You sit and you're just doing fine with that. You get a pain in your knee. Oh, if I meditate for 1 more minute, I'm going to be crippled. It's so intense. I did a Goenka course once in Varanasi, and you had to sit still. You promised you wouldn't move for 1 hour. My God, 1 hour I won't move from my sitting position. And then your knee thinks, oh my God, this is dangerous. It felt like I was getting crushed, my knee. And if you learn, when you study mind and mental factors, one of the things you learn is what is the object of a tactile consciousness? What is the object of a visual consciousness? You study this. How is that useful in meditation? Well, take tactile consciousness. The objects of a tactile consciousness are sharp, dull, rough, smooth. There's no such thing as pain. But you feel like there's a pain at my knee. There's a pain, but you've studied, you know that it's not the object of a tactile consciousness isn't pain. It's only it's intense sharpness, intense dullness, or intense pressure. That's what's really occurring. But we build it up big like that. So when you do that kind of meditation, when you feel the pain at the knee, that what you should do skillfully is you intend, you don't just move your mind around like that. You should do it with intention. Intending to move my mind to my knee, to observe what's happening, to observe this pain. And you bring this attention gradually to your knee. And very often it goes away. Because pain is not an object of tactile consciousness, not. But only sharp, dull, rough, smooth. They can be intense, but pain, no. You just don't have a pain in the knee. It's not possible. You can only have those other factors because they're the only objects of pain. By studying mind and mental factors, you will learn what are the objects. Color and form for sight are the only things that can appear. But it's important, this tactile one. Pain isn't the object of tactile consciousness. Sharp, rough, smooth. Also, I can remember, and you sit for just a short time and you feel like, my knee, I don't know, this is bad for me. Maybe this is horrible. But I've sat on a wooden floor in the 60s. A wooden floor, cross-legged. listening to somebody like Jimi Hendrix or some concert like that. Sat on that floor for hours, and I wasn't suffering a pain until I got up to move the first time and realized I couldn't move because my mind was not focusing on this feeling because I was focusing on the music, Jeff Beck or whoever it was, So, but when we're sitting down to meditate, oh no, this is a long time. You can see even interminably long time. That's okay. You can make it longer and longer and longer. You do one of these longer retreats. But one of the main things is if you want to learn about karma, karma is intention. To have control over your karma, you should observe all your intentions. You shouldn't just move your knee like that without thinking. You should think subtly, not with gross words, I'm intending to move my leg. It's getting really unbearable. Intending to move my leg a little bit, intending to do that. So that the intention is the karma. Otherwise, we move our leg inadvertently, then we're being controlled by it. In this case, we're starting to control, intending. As I said before, karma is intention. So I'm intending to move my leg. And when you do that one, it's all about observing intentions. It's not the kind of meditation we did very much in the Tibetan tradition. I do mostly mantras and these other things. But I went back from America the first time after being 5 years in India as a monk. And my friend of mine who was a monk, he says, there's a place called Barre, Massachusetts, where there's the International Insight, the main place in the United States East Coast with Joseph Goldstein and these people for this basic mindfulness meditation. These people have all done this for 3 months. And they put us up on the stage, with the Thai monks and with the Zen monks, and we were trying to sit there. We're used to ringing our bells and moving around, and we had to sit still because we represented that. And the first month was hell, but then later there was some depth. But they explained to us, this is so important about intention. One of the greatest Burmese masters of all time, he's living, Mahasi Sayadaw, I think his name was. And he was there just before we did this 3-month retreat. 3 months from now, I vanished. And he was there. And he said he would have you observe your intentions. To control not be uncontrolled, you observe your intentions. If you're observing your intentions, you can observe 50 intentions brushing your teeth, intending to open the tube, intending to move, intending to reach for the toothbrush, to be that focused down. And you start to become liberated, not just blind intentions, doing this by habit. So that was a training to observe intentions. So he said, this great master, I heard about him recently. Somebody said Mahasi Sayadaw. Me and a friend of mine, we were talking about some of the great masters in Burma. I haven't been to Burma, but he was one of them. And I said, oh yeah, I did this 3-month retreat. After Goldstein and all of them had been a month with this one, and they were so much into focusing. Like when you get up, intending to get up, don't just get up. And most of it's move your leg. Don't move your leg unless you intend to move your leg. You don't have to make a big noise with it, intending to move the leg. You're just aware that you intend to move the leg instead of just uncontrollably doing it. It builds up this thing of being more free from that karma and being that focused. It's quite amazing, just that basic kind of meditation. Already, because I can't sit where I'm feeling my ankles. I'm feeling my ankles more right now. But it's okay. It's okay to move, but just be aware so we're not uncontrolled. So we're not uncontrolled by our karma. So there's these all compounded phenomena. What makes something Buddhist? All compounded phenomena are impermanent and changing all the time. There is no separate self. There's no independent self. we are empty of having an independent controlling self, the things that I mentioned way back in this today. It seems like forever now. But anyway, when you do that kind of meditation, now we just meditated, we saw the emptiness of pain. We felt what we called pain, which is just a label, and it goes away almost instantly, even without doing anything else. You focus your mind there, and sure enough, you don't feel the pain anymore. You just observe it's pain. It's sharp, it's dull, it's rough, it's smooth. So you start becoming a little bit liberated from that. But a few minutes before, it's like, oh, this pain is unbearable. I don't know if I'll make it. But just that fundamental awareness by intending to move, not just moving. Then it's intended karmic actions. Oh, many Pimyam. I've got water here. What's the time? Well, I've got the time here.
Yeah, 20.
This only go to 4. Oh, we got to go right into that. Some other topic, don't we?
Huh?
We got to go into the Lojong, huh?
We have 20 minutes, yeah. Maybe we finish
Karma?
Klesha and Verdad. I think you went to the mental afflictions. So I think you went to ignorance and attachment.
Yeah.
And rapidly you spoke about anger.
Yeah.
So maybe we could just do like pride and arrogance. And
Pride?
Pride, then afflictive doubt, and then mistake views.
Okay, I can just mention a few words with those.
Yeah, just to complete this step.
But antidotes to attachment, reflect on the faults of attachment, meditate on permanence, and then love and attachment, we covered that a bit.
Yes.
And then you're my guide. What are we going to go from? Oh, you wanted to go maybe pride, a couple of the other afflicted minds.
Yeah, mental afflictions like pride.
Yeah, pride.
Afflictive doubt and mistaking views.
Yeah, okay. But what I have here is antidotes to pride. Reflect on the source of whatever it is that you take pride in and realize how you are dependent on others. For example, your body came from your parents. Your knowledge came from your teachers. Your good fortunes came from good karma and created in previous lives. So remind yourself of what you don't know, the qualities you don't have. Because otherwise we can get full of ourselves. Remember and you can be right in the middle of the Dharma in this same problem. Remember your faults and imperfections. It isn't to dwell on those things, but this is an antidote to pride. If pride isn't your problem, think as long as I'm in samsara, my mind is full of delusions and karma. What's there to be proud of? Remember impermanence. For so many things, remembering impermanence and death. Things could change for us and we could lose what we have. For example, healthy people become sick or disabled. Wealthy people become bankrupt. People in high positions fall, etc. Developing an understanding of selflessness. Investigate the I that feels proud. This covers everything. Because basic problem we're getting into now is all of our problems come from self-grasping, the self-cherishing mind. All of the problems come from that. So it just gives a little reminder about that. Pride, attachment, I can't remember. Was there any others? They're all basically attachment. They're all related to attachment. And we went through the mind a bit. But is there any questions on what's from so far? What about you people out there in Gaga land? Any questions?
No question?
Okay. Well, questions can just mean, can you elaborate that thing a little bit or something? It doesn't have to be just what is this, what is that? I don't have all the answers. But so I've got to find. There was pride, jealousy. Jealousy is a bad one, isn't it? Jealousy is a mental factor. See, I have definitions for everything. It's a mental factor that out of attachment to material gain, respect, etc., it's unbearable to see the good things that others have. It's unbearable. It disturbs the mind, makes us feel very unhappy, and can lead to hatred and resentment. It can destroy relationships. It can lead us to, oh yeah, jealousy is a dangerous one, isn't it? It causes a lot of problems. There's one story that doesn't necessarily come under the point of jealousy. It comes under a different one. This is one of the things that people get a lot upset about is, say the big Lama's coming to the Dharma Center. Say you're in Australia and you've been to work for 2 years to get ready for Lama Zopa to come. You've made everything pucka, pucka, pucka. You've devoted your life. And then someone walks in the door and they get a 2-hour interview with Rinpoche. Oh! Instead of thinking, how wonderful. That person just walked in the door and they got an interview with it. And you should be able to think that that's that person's karma also, you know? So it's very important because this is stuff that happens in the Dharma centers. Why did he get to spend time with Rinpoche? Most of the jealousy is over seeing the Lama. It's incredible. And there was this event that happened in the Institute of Lama Tsongkhapa, one of these big programs that we had. I went there as a monk, and there was one guy who made sasas. These sasas are these little, they're like statuettes. He made a Chenrezig sasa out of pure crystal. You know, he sold them at cost for $300. This is 20 years ago. And he made these beautiful ones, you know. So one woman bought one of those and gave to Lama Zopa. I'm going to give Lama Zopa the best possible gift. You know, I'm giving the best possible gift. And there was this cute German girl, never been to a meditation course, never met the Lamas. And she's wearing it around her neck. And she goes, look what the nice Lama gave me. And this woman goes, ah! That woman didn't give it. She didn't give that. You know, she's reacting like that. It was just, those are things that happen in Dharma centers. And this one, and you don't know with this young German girl, maybe she's going to be a yogini in the future. I saw a lot, remember she gave away a lot of things that later on it made an imprint on people, you know. So that was one that's just a classic for me. Look what the nice Lama gave me. Oh, God, have mercy. I gave him that. Well, you're telling me Lama Zopa can't give everything you give to a great being, they give away. There's a whole shop in Dharamsala that's just gifts for the Dalai Lama. They sell things there to pay for the schooling of the poor people. You know, all those gifts, you know. Dalai Lama doesn't need to keep all this junk like that. So that was one thought around all that. And so I still have to get into the stages of the 7-point mind training. Noble truth of suffering, the mind, antidotes to attachment. Because we don't have much time. Jealousy, pride, but some of them I had on a separate sheet going through these things in the mind training. Also, I had a book here somewhere that was well, I'll go to the little booklet, the Heart Sutra, the Lamrim, yeah. And we'll go zip through those parts, and then we'll spend a little time with the one we're doing because it comes in order to it. How to devote oneself to the Guru is the root of the path to enlightenment. This is another thing. It's hard for people, gurus. I don't know about gurus, because there's a lot of bogey gurus. There's a lot of guru nonsense, you know. And so the thing is accepting a guru, but when you think about it, everything we learn from somebody else, whether it's called a guru or not, whether it's our mother or whoever else helped us to it. So you get pride about what you know, but it's all been a gift from somebody else, this gratitude for that, So that's a few words on that one. Through offering my devoted request to you, protectors, root of all well-being, will you gladly care for me and inspire me thus? We're praying to the gurus. Please care for me. How to train the mind when devoted to the guru. How to train the mind on the common path. Training the mind on the common path of the inferior person. Expanding one's mind in the interest of future lives. Let me realize how this inappropriate, fortunate rebirth, rare and found but once, is quickly lost. Then, undistracted by the meaningless words of this life, seize its meaningful essence, inspire me thus. So, in the bottom part, lowest part of the path, in a sense, it's about working, because it's not Mahayana, it's just working for happiness. And it's not, Mahayana is all about working for the happiness of others. And the root of the problem is our self-cherishing. So as a basis for all of that, it's the lower path. We try to do things with future, for happiness in future lives. This is considered minimal. It's good karma to work for future lives and not just grasp after this life's happiness. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but that's the way Lama Zopa always puts it. Finding the means for happiness for future lives. This talks about afraid of the blazing fire of ill destiny's suffering. Let me take heartfelt refuge in the three jewels and fervently strive to avoid evil and accomplish the collections of virtue. I think I mentioned the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, yeah?
The beginning, yes.
At the beginning, yeah. So we're taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which means you become Buddhist, taking the refuge. And the deepest refuge is actually the Dharma. Sometimes there's an epithet that the Buddha is the physician and that, like, the Dharma is the medicine. It's actually the medicine. Of course, it's both. It's the attitude. But it's actually the Dharma that's going to heal you. So that particular aspect of things. So training the mind on the common path of the intermediate person. So that's the lower life person. There's a few basic things. Precious human rebirth. It's something we can mention. We've attained a birth. Daljor, it's called in Tibetan. It means of leisure and endowments. If we have a birth where we have a lot of spare time and we have everything we need to practice, that's a good birth, Leisure and endowments. We have leisure to practice, not just leisure to go to the beach necessarily, but a birth with Daljor, leisure and endowments. And endowments means there's all these lists of having a body without imperfections. We have okay eyesight, okay this. I have these lists probably somewhere, but maybe I even had something when I was looking on the phone yesterday for some of this stuff. And I sent this stuff to myself. Jimi. The Four Seals. We kind of went through the Four Seals, yeah? But I can enumerate them, the thing. This is a teaching by Dzongchen Khyentse Rinpoche. This is a whole commentary, but the first seal is that all compounded phenomena are impermanent. In order for something to be Buddhist, it has to have these seals. That's what defines them as Buddhist. All compounded phenomena are impermanent. Impermanence is a very high state. It's almost like a poor man's emptiness almost. And the emptiness comes with it. If things are permanent, means they're changing all the time. In the case of Buddhism, permanence means changeability. We use in the West impermanent means it kind of lasts forever often. Things are permanent, they last forever. Impermanent, they don't. But impermanence means changing. And again, with this basic meditations that are in the most basic meditations of all these Satipatthana, you look inside the different parts of your body and see that it's changing. You see direct perception. This is changing, like even the pain at the knee, that situation's changing. We're constant flux with our body and certainly with our mind. Our mind changing all the time. We see that it's impermanent. All compounded phenomena are impermanent. And then the second seal is all emotions are painful. Emotions isn't a great word that he picked. Tenzin Palmo doesn't like this word at all that he uses. But he's using Dzogche, which means permeated by confusion. Because love and compassion can be very emotional. They can be emotion also. All emotions are painful. It's basically, if we get emotional about something, we kind of get attached to it. I think that's what he's talking about here. And then there's a good question that's asked, is compassion an emotion? Well, I know people like Tenzin Palmo says, absolutely, it's an emotion, you know. People like us have, this is Zongzor Khyentse, people like us have dualistic compassion, whereas the Buddhist compassion does not subject an object. Compassion should never involve a subject and object. I don't know.
Because I think we'll define as contaminated emotion.
Yeah.
Emotions that are contaminated.
Yeah,
not all the emotions, but just the contaminated ones.
Yeah, they're contaminated with attachment and things like that often.
Yeah.
And
then they bring suffering and unsatisfaction.
Yeah. But this is going back to this thing of Zongzor Khyentse, which is in nirvana is peace. All emotions lead to suffering. But that's not, the emotions isn't a good word there.
Yeah, I think often comes as contaminated emotion, the definition.
Yeah, contaminated emotions, which they are. So all emotions are painful. He says it's Dzogche, which means, so we can go right through that one. All phenomena are empty. They're without intrinsic inherent existence. That's related very much also to impermanence. Impermanence is almost a poor man's emptiness, you know. If you see things isn't changing all the time, you don't grasp at something because it's just changing. It's empty of being stable and existing from its own side. So we went through this before. Everything, and we went through the Heart Sutra, everything we see appears as if it's existent from its own side, independently. Everything. Everything that appears to us. Not only that, for a Buddha, or a Bodhisattva who is free from samsara, everything appears as if it's existing for its own side, but they don't buy into it anymore, you know? And still the appearance is there. That's how strong a habitual appearance of our mother, our guru, or whatever. It all looks like it's out there, but the being realized that it's not really, you know, it's empty. There's a big difference there. And so there's an example, to give an example of that. There's the illusionists, the one who pulls a cobra snake or manifests some kind of tiger or something, and the whole audience is afraid. They see it as, this is real, they're afraid. It's that realistic. But the owner, you take a cushion somewhere there, the owner, there's plenty. There's ones behind you also. What was I going to say? It was I lost my space.
The realized beings see the things,
Oh yeah.
but they don't
So
buy.
it's like even to a realized being, even to a Buddha, things appear as not existing from their own side, but they know already it's empty. They realized it. So they give the example that for the being, it's like the illusionist. The illusionist pulls the cobra snake out, and the audience believes it, and they're all afraid. But the illusionist sees it just as clearly, but he doesn't. He's not fooled by it anymore because he knows how the illusion was created. You know, he knows like good people understand their mind creates things. It's a good example in that respect. So no, they realize it. So that's unfortunate in that respect. We're kind of zipping now. So what is it? Oh, and then there was questions. I find difficulty seeing all emotions as pain. Okay, if you want a more philosophical impression, we can drop the word emotion. Finally, Zongzar Kenzie does that. Yes. Tenzin Palmo didn't like the word emotions are bad either because you can have very positive emotions, isn't it? So she would have criticized some of this stuff. They're not all pain. And then empty. The third seal, all phenomena are empty. They're without inherent existence. Everything. All means everything. And we went through the Heart Sutra. That means Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the Four Noble Truths. Empty, 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 empty. Same. Otherwise, it's a non-existent. An independent thing is a non-existent. It's by definition not existent. Non-existent. Because everything that exists, even the Buddha, even the Dharma, everything is a dependent arising. It's not independent. We need to go?
Yeah, we need to
Finish it.
yes.
Okay, well, we have to. Oh, well, then we're going to have to really do a little bit of a leap.
Sorry?
Yeah, okay, well, we're going to have to do a little bit of a leap. So I was going through those things, training the mind on the common path of the intermediate person. I think that's just a few verses. Frantically tossed by waves of defilements and karma, tormented by the many sea monsters of the three sufferings, from this dread, boundless great ocean of becoming, let a strong wish for freedom grow in me. So this is the wish to become liberated. And training to attain liberation, this samsara is an unbearable prison. I see as a charming garden. Rejecting this view, let me keep the three trainings, the store of the Arya's treasures, and grasp liberation's banner. Training the mind in the superior intention. Here's where we get to the generating compassion, the foundation of Mahayana. Thinking of all these tormented beings are my mothers who cared for me kindly again and again. Let me develop unfeigned compassion like a fond mother for her dear child. Inspire me thus. Meditation on the exchange of self and others through the 7-point mind training. Exchange for others. Contemplating the faults of the cherishing attitude. All of this comes from you have to understand that the self-cherishing mind, selfishness, is this thing where we cherish our mind, and our mind is also not truly existent. We grasp onto that. It's the root of all of our problems. It's the root of all the problems. Me, self-cherishing. It's obviously the root of not being able to be compassionate for others. So let me lay blame on it and begrudge it and destroy the great demon of self-grasping. And then we're going to, how does that occur? That happens with these few things coming in. Contemplating the advantage of cherishing others. To cherish one's mothers and seek to place them in bliss is the gateway to endless virtues. Let me see this, and these beings rise up as my foes. Hold them dearer than my life. Inspire me thus. Exchanging the attitude of self-cherishing and cherishing others. In short, the childish work only for their own gain, the Buddha's work for others. With understanding how the faults and virtues differ, may I be able to change self for others. Inspire me thus. To cherish oneself is the door to every downfall. To cherish one's mothers, the basis of everything good. So let me make my heart of the practice the yoga of exchanging self from others. Okay, giving and creating. Tonglen. with the final and ultimate verse, okay? So, considering that this self-cherishing mind that we hold at the heart is the root of all the problems, the supreme method of getting rid of this, of dissolving it, is Tonglen. We take and we give. We take all of the suffering and all the crap from others, and we give it to this lump of coal at our heart, which is the I, self-existent I. We give it to that and explode it into smithereens. Boom, completely dissolved. Taking, and we give other beings all of our roots of virtue. We all have fundamentally the clear light nature of the mind. We have these good qualities. It's just the opposite of what our habit is. We give it to others and we keep. So I have a story with this. It's coming from my own life. Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to teach this at the early courses at Kopan. He said, first you take on all the suffering of all the beings in the hell realms, and you give it to this I, well, I can see the value of that, but I don't really know what the sufferings of the hell realms are. I can read all these descriptions about horrible stuff, but I don't really have a gut level feeling for that, So it kind of worked, but it didn't quite, And then you go taking all the suffering, all the beings in the hungry ghost realm, and you do that same, but and you give that to the self-cherishing to get rid of the self-cherishing, yeah? And then we the animal realm, all the suffering of the animal realms, all the things they go through. Rinpoche could go on about what it's like to be a worm being eaten by birds, etc., etc., etc. And so, but anyway, we get to the human realm, and I was having the biggest crisis of my life. I went, Tonglen is good, it works, but So when my baby left me, I was the worst off I'd ever been in this life. I was having a crisis of an anxiety attack in the middle of the bazaar in Dharamsala. I thought, think of how many beings are feeling what I'm feeling. Almost everybody, every song, every opera, everything's about that. Oh, my baby left me. Whoa, 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 whoa. So I know exactly what that feels like. So taking on all the suffering of all those brothers and sisters out there that are feeling the same thing I'm feeling, of being left alone or whatever it is, it was very, very visceral to do that. And I breathed it all in as black smoke and gave it, boom, it worked. It just worked like that, it worked. Because I knew what I was taking on. And I was like, wow, they're right about this stuff, the self-cherishing, but the other didn't make a dent in it. So it was really, really effective to do that. And then maybe it comes back a little bit. You keep doing it. You keep taking on their suffering because you know what their suffering is, because it's exactly, you're going through it every minute. So you know what, you understand what they're suffering until you can take it on with very great clarity. And that actually worked. It actually functioned. So for me, that was one of the greatest Dharma experiences of all time, that I could just, Lama Zopa was talking about it all the time, but all the beings in the hell realm, yeah, okay. But all the people that are suffering because their baby left them, all you have to do is listen to a song, listen to an opera, read a novel, have your own experience. That's all that we know in the Western civilization. And it worked very, very effectively, very, very effectively. So that's basically it. We ended up with the main Lojong teaching. So we should do some dedication. One dedication I like to use comes from Shantideva. It's one of the most beautiful dedications of all, from Bodhisattva Avatara. But we go, I gotta find it.
We have this one that you put on the
Yeah.
Heart Sutra.
Yeah,
You put one here, right?
That's a brief one, but yeah, we can put that one. I put that for everybody if they needed it. And where is it?
So it's in the back of the Heart Sutra.
Back of the Heart Sutra.
This is the long ring, no?
Yeah. This is the Lamrim. Oh yeah, the Heart Sutra. If you have the right edition of the Heart Sutra, you've got that. Yeah, okay, dedication. Then this is going to be a better one also. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions of contemplating the Dharma, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Gewadi Nyududa Lama Sangye Drugyune Dowa Chikyang Malupa Dei Sala Goparshok. And the second prayer is Jangshub Semcho Rinpoche Ma Kepanam Ke Gyurchi Kepanyam Parme Paryam Kone Gongdu Pelvar Sho. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen in my mind stream arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. But the Shanti Deva prayer is so complete and so good. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored upon finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid. May those bound be freed. May the powerless find power. And may people think of benefiting each other. And this is Das Holiness' favorite prayer. For as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then the long life prayer of the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenre Zik Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Gangri Rawe Korwe Jinkam Dir, Pendang Dewa Malu Jungwe Ne, Chenre Zigwang Tenzin Gyatso Yi, Shape Site Bardu Tengyuchi. Well, thank you. You people online, thank you also. Part of this is online because people really look online and come in here, Okay, great. Thanks for your work. Thanks for inviting me here. Giving an opportunity.
For the teachings, for the talk.
Huh?
Thanks for coming for the teachings.
Is my pleasure and benefit. I'm just selfish. I know this is gonna do good for me.